Hello there, in this video we are going to be looking at the OCR spec, specifically section 2.1.5, which focuses around databases, and this section I've had to split up into two videos because there's so much content to be looking at. So this is databases part 1 in 5 minutes or less. So OCR say that you need to know to be able to describe a database as a persistent organised store of data, explain the use of data handling software to create, maintain and interrogate a database, describe how a DBMS allows the separation of data from applications while it's desirable, and also describe the principal features of a DBMS and how they can be used to create customized data handling applications. We're going to be looking at this aspect of it in this video, and then in a future video for 2.1.5 part 2 we'll be looking at the rest of the specification. So a database, OCR's definition, a persistent organised store of data. So if you had lots of pieces of paper randomly spread around on your desk, that's not going to be organised, and your data will be hard to look around on your desk. Whereas if it's stored electronically in a nice organised fashion, it's going to be easy to find and retrieve data. Persistent means it's just going to keep going on and on and on. So data handling software, two types to be aware of. MySQL, which you won't be using as much during this course, and also Access, good old Microsoft Access, which you would have used quite a bit. Data handling software needs to be able to create databases, maintain them, and interrogate them. So creating databases is, as it says on the tin, make sure they create them so then they're fit for purpose for data to be able to be stored within them. They need to be able to maintain databases, for example, being able to do any maintenance on it to make sure tables are correct and records are properly stored. Interrogate is just a posh word for querying, so be able to find information within a database. So for example, you interrogate Google and the Google database just by performing a Google search. The DBMS is nicely summed up in this picture, which I've stolen from BBC Bite Size. You can see here that there are three very different users of the database. There's a payroll officer needing to access the staff details to update payroll or remove people from the payroll if they've been sacked. A customer service advisor needs to access customer accounts to be able to place an order or to check an order. And a sales manager needs to be able to access stock levels. So all these people need to access the DBMS and access the database at one time. And what the database management system does, DBMS, is it allows them access to their particular areas without any general overflow or any crossing of wires. DBMSs are really, really important. So features of a good DBMS features a command language that allows you to create, delete and alter databases. So for example, Access uses a version of SQL, MySQL obviously uses SQL. A way of documenting all the internal structures, so in other words some form of data dictionary to be able to keep everything nicely logged. A language to support the manipulation and processing of data. Being able to support the ability to view the database from the different viewpoints according to the requirements of the user. So if you think back at the previous slide and how the different jobs required looking at different parts of data, again they only want to look at different particular areas. You don't want to have any overhead, because the more processing that the database has to do, the slower it's going to be for both running on the database server itself and the person using it. And finally, they need to provide some level of security and access control to the data. Do you want any old Bob walking in from the street being able to look at your database, being able to look at your data? I don't think so. This has been a very quick summary of databases 2.1.5 for the OCR spec. This has been part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. Feel free to like, comment and subscribe.